IAS Academy. In this video, we'll look at the question how we should write answers to mains questions. When it comes to UPSC Civil Services exam, the mains examination is a very important part of the exam. It is going to determine whether you are going to make it or not. So it is very important that you know how that you should effectively write an answer to a mains question. That is GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. So before I go into the details, the first thing that you need to know is that you should read the question properly, thoroughly. I mean, there are two kinds of questions that you would see in these four papers. So one type is where it will be for 150 words. Now this will be for 10 marks. And the second one is the one that is for 250 words. This will be a 50-mark question. Alright, so first of all, you have to know that how much words is required. And according to that, you will have to structure your answer. You have to stay within that word limit. And it is also important that you know what are they asking in the question. For example, now let's say they are going to ask about Italy's role in Indo-Pacific trade, Indo-Pacific area. Now you know a lot about Indo-Pacific area. Now you're going to write a lot about the Indo-Pacific area, the Chinese aggressiveness and the India's constraints. That's not what it is required. Now that's asking, I mean, in recent current affairs you might have read the news about Italy, Japan and India's trilateral relationship. So it might be connected to that. So you have to, channel your answer towards what has been asked in the question rather than simply writing what you know about the Indo-Pacific. Right. So first point is that word limit. Now when it comes to word limit, you have to stick to word limit. Now let's say you know a lot about one topic and that has been asked in the question. That doesn't mean that you go on and on writing, mentioning all the things you know about that answer. Because if you have seen a mains answer sheet, it looks like this, right? And you will have only like 2 pages or 3 pages depending upon the size of the question, right? So one page will have 75 to 100 words. That's the limit. Beyond that, you should not write. Okay, and once you're writing, it's important that you stick to the word limit because there is a time constraint. There is limited amount of time, right? There are many aspirants who write the answers, but by the end of the examination, they might have missed a lot of questions. So that will actually reduce a lot of marks. You're fighting for each marks when you're writing a mains answer, right? So in that context, time is very important. So hence you're supposed to stick to the word limit. Then the second one. Now whether you should write these questions as paragraphs or points. Now that depends. Now as I said about word limit, now let's say your language is really good and you are able to finish all the sentences properly and you're able to write very effectively. In that case, yes, you can breach the word limit. Even if you're writing in points, you can breach the word limit, but only a little bit, maximum of let's say 25 to 50 words. Beyond that, you should not go. Because as I said, there is a time constraint. For each paper, let's say it's a 10-marker question for 150 words, right? What you are getting here is 7 minutes if you calculate it. 7 minutes for a 150-mark question. You should not breach this time limit. And then let's say for this 250 words question, that is for 50 marks, you are supposed to not break the time limit of 12 minutes. Because if you do that, then you are going to lose on the other question. The time that you have to write the other question, to attend the other questions, you are going to lose on that. And in that places, you are going to lose your mark. So about writing to paragraphs or points. So let's say your language is really good and you are able to construct these sentences properly without confusion, with much clarity, and everything is perfect in that sense. Then fine, let's go with the paragraph mode of writing, no issues. But let's say you're from a, you're a person who's, you're okay with English, but you are not like, good at language that much. In that case, what you want to do is write in points, so that you do not have to form complex sentences. Complex sentences are not welcome at all, but what we require is clarity. But when you're writing the points, the advantage is that you can be more precise, and also when you're writing in points like 1, 2, 3 like this, and giving sub points, in that case it is well organized, and you can include more information in your answers. You just have to write a few words, you're reducing the amount of words, so you're saving time. So that's a good thing. Let's say you are from a technical background, for writing points might be much more effective for you. So that's what matters. It depends upon you, what's your preference, what's your skills. So depending upon your skills, you can choose between paragraphs or points. But I would say for most of the people, points would be a much better option. Now the next point, underline the keywords. Why is this? Because when you underline the keywords, you're going to highlight those words. Now keywords are very important. Let's say you're going to mention an important article in the constitution, or let's say you're going to mention an important judgment, a case like Keshwandabad case, you're mentioning the answer, something like that, or some issue, some something that is very important. So in that case, you're drawing the attention of the examiner to that point. Now the examiner would be a person who's going through multiple papers, multiple pages, right? So you're drawing attention of that person to that specific point, which is going to point out that you have in-depth knowledge in this matter, that you have a clear-cut idea about what you are writing about. So in that sense, it's going to add value to your answers, right? So in that sense, underlining the keywords, or you can even use block letters when you're mentioning names or any important name of a place or a person or anything. You can use also block letters to highlight. And also it is very important that you keep the alignment properly by when you're underlining your handwriting, it has to be neat. I'm not saying it has to be so good, but it has to look at least neat, presentable, because in that sense it will, when it looks more presentable, the examiner would not be feeling much difficulty in analyzing your answer. Now diagrams. When you're using diagrams, what's going to happen? Let's say like this, you're using a pie chart. Now even not something like this, you can even use maps and point out, let's say, important or tiger reserves in the country, or important sectors, something that you're going to highlight. Then use maps. Now what is this going to do to your answer? Now it is going to break the monotony that the examiner has been going through, multiple words. It's going to put forward to him as something interesting, right? And it is also going to save you a lot of words. Now a diagram would be counted as a single word, so it's going to enable you to put more information in a limited amount of space. Now make sure that when you're giving a diagram, you're able to provide it neatly, and do not put diagrams where it is not really necessary. If it is necessary, then you can put a diagram in your answer. Now the fifth one, practice in UPSC sheet format. Why practice in UPSC sheet format? So when you practice in UPSC sheet format, you're going to know how many words that can fill in a single sheet, and this space, it's going to, you see this space, right? So this is going to limit the number of words that's going to be in this sheet. Okay, so when you practice in UPSC sheet, it's not also important that you practice in UPSC sheet, you also have to practice in a test format. Why? So when you are practicing in a test format, you are going to have time constraint. At that point, you will write fast, right? You will have to train yourself to put all those information that you have inside your head into the paper within a limited period of time, and at the same time with much precision. So in that sense, practicing in UPSC sheet format and practicing in test format, that is with all those time constraints and all, is very important. And then you should attempt all questions. Now this doesn't mean that you are supposed to attempt something that you do not know anything about. So that would be like insulting your examiner. Now just because you do not know something but you want to just put there some words in that is not what I'm talking about. Now let's say you come over a question which you do not have a complete idea about, where you do not have in-depth knowledge, but you have seen it in news or you have read about it, you know something about it. So write what you know. Now it might fetch you a 2 or 3 marks in that sense. So every mark is worth fighting for. So in that sense, try to attempt all the questions which you know something about. Do not leave it. And when it comes to writing the answers, now some students, what happens is that I've seen that some aspirants go on writing about something that they know in the introduction. So when it comes to, let's say the question is about sedition, right? Sedition law. Now there is a need to abolish the sedition law on the ground that it can be used to curb freedom of expression and speech discussed. So in this question, what they are asking, there is a need to abolish the sedition law because it can be used, it has a potential to be used to curb freedom of expression. So this is the question. Now you know what sedition law is. Now in this introduction you are going to write in this introduction you are going to write after this question, write on about sedition law, what it is, what are the provisions, and so on. You are going to write about. It's not going to fetch you marks. It is a waste of your time and it won't fetch you any marks. So what is the question that you first need to understand? There is a need to abolish the sedition law. So sedition law, do you have to explain? Yes. You have to give a definition of what sedition law is and why it is important in this context. Okay, recently why it is very important. And that you should fit in between 2 to 3 lines. That's it. That's all that is required for an introduction. Okay, keep it between 2 to 3 lines. And after that, what happens? You have to write the main body. Now what will the main body of the answer include? Look at the question. There is a need to abolish the sedition law on the ground that it can be used to curb freedom of expression and speech. Now why there is a need to curb sedition law? That you have to address. So you say that it has been used by the government recently many times to curb dissent, to curb criticism against the government. Now you point out the examples that has been happening in the anti-CAA protest law. In the anti-CAA protest that was happening, many activists were arrested. Okay, in the Bhima Kurdion case, many people were arrested. In that case, it will be UAPA. But in similar instance where in sedition law, using the sedition law, people has been arrested, give those examples. And then also talk about the constitutional, point of view that it is going to curb your fundamental right. Now, right to freedom of expression comes under Article 19, mention about it, and say that why. So you're going to answer why there is a need to abolish sedition law, and then in the way forward you can talk about the necessary changes that you can bring in sedition law, or you can talk about the important verdicts that has been given by the Supreme Court regarding the sedition law. That Supreme Court has mentioned that sedition is only when somebody is going to provoke, somebody is going to say something that is going to result in violence, then only this can be charged. Now these things you can mention the way forward and say that what is your opinion about what should be done can be mentioned here, right? So you have to list out, when it comes to talking about discuss, you have to list out the positive and negative aspects about that answer, and then you have to give a way forward. That's it. That's how the answering is done when it comes to mains answer writing. So I'll give you one homework. In the comment section, you can write an answer, a model answer for both these questions. That is, there is a need to abolish the sedition law. In the same format that I have told you, write answers in the same kind of format that I have explained. There is a need to abolish the sedition law on the ground that it can be used to curb freedom of expression and speech discussed. And also, Vishaga guidelines have been an effective deterrence in preventing sexual harassment of women at workplace. Critically analyze. So when it comes to critically analyze, you have to list out, you have to focus more on the negative points, the cons. Okay. So that's it. That's all about it. I hope you will be able to write the mains answers much more effectively from now on. So for more such videos, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on social media. We are very active in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and even LinkedIn. You can also follow us on Telegram channel, where you are going to get all the data that we create, all the kind of test series, free test series, the daily kind of materials, editorial analysis, quiz, infographics, everything will be provided for you. And you can visit our website believersias.com, where you are going to find the kind of service that we provide. And any guidelines that you require, any doubts you have regarding UPSC Civil Services exam, you can directly call upon us. You can check in our website, our contact details, and everything will be provided us. You can also mail us at info@believersias.com. So thanks for watching the video. See you next time.